The cantina buzzed with the sound of a dozen different languages. Smoke from alien pipes mixed with the smell of strange foods and drinks. Commander Dae-ho Kim sat at the center table, his Earth military uniform clean and pressed. Around him, creatures from across the galaxy leaned forward to hear his words. The beast was 12 feet long, Dae-ho said, spreading his arms wide. Saltwater crocodile from the Australian swamps. Teeth like daggers. One bite could snap a man in half. A blue-skinned trader from the Vega system clicked his mandibles in amazement. How did you survive such a monster? Dae-ho grinned and took a long drink from his glass. The liquid burned his throat, but he did not show it. Patience and skill, my friend. I tracked it for 3 days through the mud and water. When it finally showed itself, I had one chance. One shot, he mimed, raising a rifle to his shoulder. Right between the eyes. The beast dropped like a stone. The crowd murmured in appreciation. A reptilian merchant from the outer rim shook her scaled head. Humans truly are the apex predators of the galaxy. Your Earth must be the most dangerous world of all. Oh, it is, Dae-ho said with pride. We call it a Deathworld for good reason. Tigers that can leap 20 feet, bears that weigh half a ton, sharks with rows of razor teeth, and humans learn to hunt them all. He gestured to the bartender for another drink. The alien creature, covered in purple fur, quickly refilled his glass. Dae-ho had been telling stories for 2 hours now. Each tale was bigger than the last. Tell us about the African lion, called out a trader from the corner booth. I heard Earth lions are the kings of beasts. Dae-ho nodded seriously. 500 pounds of muscle and fury. Money like golden fire, claws that could tear through metal plating. He paused for effect. I hunted one in the Serengeti Plains. Tracked it for a week. A week? Gasped a young pilot from the mining colonies. 7 days and 7 nights, Dae-ho confirmed. The beast was clever. It knew it was being hunted. But I was cleverer. On the 7th morning, it thought it had escaped. It was drinking from a waterhole, thinking it was safe. He stood up and acted out the scene. I crawled through the grass for 2 hours. The sun was burning hot. Flies bit my skin. But I did not move until I had the perfect shot. The cantina was completely silent now. Even the background music had stopped. The lion looked up just as I pulled the trigger, Dae-ho said softly. For one moment our eyes met. Hunter and prey. Predator and predator. Then it was over. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Alien hands and claws patted Dae-ho on the back. Drinks appeared on his table without him asking. In the far corner of the cantina, a woman sat alone at a small table. She wore simple clothes and had been quietly eating her meal throughout Dae-ho's performance. Her name was Soo-jin Park, though nobody in the cantina knew this. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life forms. Soo-jin had been listening to every word. She knew about Earth animals. She had spent years studying predators from many different worlds. As she listened to Dae-ho's stories, her expression grew more troubled. And then there was the Siberian tiger, Dae-ho continued, his voice getting louder with each drink. Biggest cat in the galaxy. Orange and black stripes like living fire. One swipe of its paw could crush a man's skull. A merchant captain leaned forward eagerly. How big was it? 11 feet from nose to tail. 700 pounds of pure killing machine, Dae-ho said. I found its tracks in the snow. Each paw print was bigger than my hand. Soo-jin quietly sipped her drink and continued to listen. She noticed things others missed. The way Dae-ho avoided certain details. How his stories always ended with easy victories. The fact that he never mentioned the intelligence of these creatures. The tiger stalked me for 3 days, Dae-ho said dramatically. It was playing with me, testing me, waiting for the right moment to strike. How did you know it was following you? Asked a pilot. Experience, Dae-ho tapped his temple. A hunter learns to feel when he is being watched. The forest becomes too quiet. The other animals disappear. You can smell the danger in the air. Soo-jin frowned at this. She knew that Siberian tigers were solitary hunters. They did not play games with their prey. They struck quickly and efficiently. If a tiger had really been stalking Dae-ho for 3 days, there would have been only one possible outcome. On the 3rd night, it finally attacked, Dae-ho said, his voice dropping to a whisper. The entire cantina strained to hear him. I was sleeping by my fire when I heard the branch snap. I rolled away just as 700 pounds of tiger landed where I had been lying. He jumped up and acted out a fighting scene. We fought hand to hand. Well, hand to claw. The beast was strong, but I was smarter. I managed to get to my rifle and end the fight. More cheers erupted from the crowd. Credits appeared on Dae-ho's table as various aliens paid for his drinks and meals. But Sujin had heard enough. She finished her meal and stood up quietly. As she walked toward the exit, she passed close to Daeho's table. The human hunter was in the middle of describing how he had once killed a great white shark with nothing but a diving knife. Sujin stopped walking. The entire cantina was hanging on Daeho's every word as he described the underwater battle. She stood there for a long moment, just listening. When Daeho finished his shark story, the crowd exploded in applause once again. Alien voices called out for more tales. Someone bought him an expensive bottle of Centaurian whiskey. In the brief moment of quiet between stories, Sujin spoke. Her voice was soft, but somehow it carried clearly through the noisy cantina. Did they ever hunt back? The question hung in the air like smoke. The entire cantina fell silent. All eyes turned to look at the small woman who had spoken. Daeho blinked in confusion. What did you say? Sujin looked directly at him. Her eyes were calm but serious. These predators you hunted, these apex killers from your Deathworld, did they ever hunt back? Daeho laughed loudly. The sound was forced and unnatural. Hunt back? What kind of question is that? They are just animals. Beasts driven by instinct and hunger. They hunt for food, not for sport. I see, Sujin said quietly. She turned and walked toward the exit without another word. Wait, Daeho called after her, but she was already gone. The cantina slowly returned to its normal noise level. Aliens began talking among themselves again. But something had changed. The mood was different now. Daeho tried to continue with another story, but his audience seemed less interested. The woman's simple question had planted a seed of doubt in their minds. What if the predators of Earth were more than simple beasts? What if they were intelligent enough to truly hunt back? But Daeho pushed these thoughts away. He was a hunter. He was the apex predator. These were just animals he had conquered. Outside the cantina, Sujin walked slowly through the corridors of the space station. Her mind was already working, already planning. She had research to do. Sujin Park walked through the quiet halls of Research Station 7. Her footsteps echoed softly on the metal floors. The station was built into an asteroid, far from the busy trade routes. Here scientists could work without interruption. Her laboratory was small but organized. Shelves lined the walls, filled with data crystals and specimen containers. 3 large screens showed information about different worlds and their creatures. Sujin sat down at her desk and began to think about the man in the cantina. Commander Daeho Kim troubled her. Not because he was a hunter, but because of how he talked about hunting. He spoke of Earth's predators like they were simple machines. Kill or be killed. Nothing more. Sujin knew better. She had grown up on New Jeju, a farming world on the edge of human space. Her parents, Byung-soo and Haewon Park, had taught her important lessons about living with nature. The memory came back to her clearly. She was 8 years old, walking with her father through their fields. The crops grew tall and green under the alien sun. Her father stopped suddenly and pointed to tracks in the soft earth. What do you see, Sujin? He had asked. She looked at the marks carefully. They were from a raptor claw, one of the native predators. The creature was about the size of a large dog, with sharp claws and intelligent eyes. It came to hunt the grain mice, she said. The small rodents often ate their crops, her father nodded. But look closer. What else do you see? Sujin studied the tracks again. The raptor claw had approached the field but then turned away. It had not entered their crops at all, it left, she said, confused. Yes, but why? Her father asked patiently. Sujin looked around the field. Then she saw it. A small shrine her mother had built at the edge of their land. It was filled with offerings of meat and grain for the local animals. Because mother feeds them, Sujin realized. Her father smiled. The raptor claws are not stupid beasts. They understand that we share this land. They take what we offer, and they leave our crops alone. This is how we survive together. That lesson had shaped Sujin's entire life. Animals were not just killing machines. They were intelligent creatures with their own thoughts and reasons. Sujin shook her head and returned to the present. She activated her computer and began searching through databases. Information about Earth's predators filled her screens. African lions, Siberian tigers, saltwater crocodiles, great white sharks, all the creatures Daeho had claimed to hunt. She started with the lions. The data showed they were highly social animals. They lived in groups called prides. They had complex hunting strategies and could work together to take down prey much larger than themselves. Lions also showed problem-solving abilities. They could open gates, climb fences, and remember patrol patterns. Some had even learned to avoid camera traps by watching humans set them up. This was not the simple beast Deho had described. Su Jin moved on to tigers. These were solitary hunters, but that did not make them less intelligent. Tigers could track prey for days across difficult terrain. They learned the habits of their targets and planned their attacks carefully. There were stories of tigers who had outsmarted experienced hunters. Some had even turned the tables and hunted the humans who came after them. They would study their pursuers, learn their weaknesses, and strike when the time was right. The more Su Jin read, the more troubled she became. Every Earth predator showed signs of advanced intelligence. They could learn, adapt, and plan. Some could even use tools or work together in complex ways. She pulled up video files from Earth. The first showed a pride of lions hunting. They did not just charge at their prey. Instead, they split up and surrounded it. Each lion had a specific role. Some drove the prey toward others who waited in ambush. The second video showed a tiger stalking through tall grass. The big cat moved like a ghost, placing each paw carefully. It used the wind direction to hide its scent. When it finally attacked, the strike was perfectly timed and placed. The third video made Su Jin gasp. It showed a great white shark following a research boat. The scientists were trying to tag it, but the shark had figured out their pattern. It would appear when they expected it, let them get close, then disappear before they could act. The shark was playing with them. Su Jin sat back in her chair. These were not the mindless killers from Deho's stories. These were intelligent predators with complex behaviors and sophisticated hunting strategies. She began cross-referencing Deho's stories with official records. Her security clearance as a xenobiologist gave her access to military databases. What she found made her stomach turn cold. The locations where Deho claimed his great hunts had all been wildlife preserves or research stations. The dates matched with tranquilization programs and animal relocations. In several cases, the predators he claimed to have killed had already been sedated for medical treatment. Su Jin found records of the Siberian tiger Deho described. It had been captured by researchers 3 days before his supposed hunt. The animal had been fitted with a tracking collar and released in a different area. It was still alive and being monitored by scientists. The African lion was even worse. The animal Deho claimed to have killed was actually an elderly male who had been separated from his pride. He was already sick and dying when Deho found him. The saltwater crocodile had been caught in a fishing net and was barely alive when Deho shot it. Su Jin felt sick. This was not hunting. This was execution of helpless animals, but something else bothered her even more. She found reports of missing hunters in the same areas where Deho claimed his victories. Real hunters. Experienced trackers who had gone into the wilderness and never returned. The timeline was disturbing. In each case, the disappearances happened around the same time as Deho's supposed hunts. It was as if the real predators had been busy elsewhere while Deho was claiming credit for killing sick and captured animals. Su Jin pulled up a map of Earth. She marked every location where Deho had claimed to kill. Then she marked every location where hunters had disappeared. The pattern that emerged made her blood run cold. The missing hunters had all been tracking the same types of animals Deho claimed to have killed. But they had been hunting in different areas, wild areas where the animals were free and dangerous. It was as if the real predators had deliberately drawn the genuine threats away from the places where Deho was operating. Almost like they were protecting their sick and injured while dealing with the real dangers elsewhere. Su Jin stared at the screen for a long time. The implications were staggering. If she was right, Earth's predators were not just intelligent. They were organized. They could plan and coordinate across vast distances. They were protecting their own while studying their enemies. She thought about the question she had asked in the cantina. Did they ever hunt back? The answer was becoming clearer with every piece of data she examined. They were hunting back. They had been hunting back all along. Humans like Deho just did not realize it because they were not the real targets. The true predators were still out there, still learning, still watching, and they were getting smarter. Su Jin saved her research and locked down her computer. She needed to learn more. She needed to understand what humanity was really facing. Because if she was right, Deho's boasting was not just false. It was dangerous. It was making humans overconfident about creatures that were far more intelligent and deadly than anyone imagined. Outside her window, The stars glittered in the darkness. Somewhere among them was Earth with its legendary predators. Somewhere else men like Daeho were planning their next hunts. Sujin hoped she was wrong about what she was discovering, but deep in her heart, she knew she was not. Sujin spent 3 days digging deeper into her research. The more she discovered, the more worried she became. Her small laboratory felt like a cave as she worked through the night, surrounded by glowing screens and data files. She had found 17 cases of missing hunters in the past 5 years. All of them had disappeared in areas where Daeho later claimed successful kills. But the timeline was wrong. The hunters vanished weeks or months before Daeho arrived. Sujin pulled up the file of the first missing hunter. His name was Marcus Chen, an experienced tracker from the Australian colonies. He had gone into the Northern Territory to hunt saltwater crocodiles. His last transmission was 3 months ago. Day 12, the recording said, still tracking the big male. This one is different, smarter than the others. It knows I am here. Sometimes I think it is tracking me instead. The transmission cut off after that. Search teams found his campsite 2 weeks later. Everything was arranged in perfect geometric patterns. His equipment was laid out in precise lines and circles. No human would organize a camp that way. Marcus Chen was never found. 3 weeks after his disappearance, Daeho arrived in the same area. He killed a sick crocodile that had been caught in fishing nets and claimed it as a great victory. Sujin found similar patterns in every case. Experienced hunters would disappear while tracking healthy, intelligent predators. Later, Daeho would show up and kill weak or captured animals in the same regions. She needed to talk to someone who knew Daeho personally. After checking military records, she found a name. Woojin Lee, former military tracker. He had served in the same unit as Daeho for 3 years. Sujin sent a secure message to Woojin's current address on Titan Station. The reply came back within hours. I wondered when someone would start asking questions about Daeho. The message said, we need to talk, but not over open channels. Meet me at the Green Moon Tavern on level 7. Come alone. 2 days later, Sujin took a transport ship to Titan Station. The Green Moon Tavern was a quiet place in the station's lower levels. She found Woojin sitting in a dark corner booth, nursing a cup of synthetic coffee. Woojin Lee was a thin man with tired eyes. His hand shook slightly when he lifted his cup. Sujin could tell he had seen things that haunted him. You are the scientist asking about Daeho's hunting stories, he said without introduction. Sujin nodded and sat down across from him. I think there are problems with his claims. Woojin laughed bitterly. Problems? Lady? That man never hunted a healthy predator in his life. What do you mean? Woojin looked around the tavern carefully before speaking. Our unit had a special job. We were called cleanup crews. When researchers captured dangerous animals for study, we were sent to deal with the ones that got injured or sick during transport. Sujin felt her stomach tighten. You killed helpless animals? Sometimes, Woojin said quietly. But mostly we just put down the ones that were already dying. It was mercy, really. Better than letting them suffer. And Daeho? He always volunteered for those missions. Said it was good practice. But he started telling stories about them. Made it sound like he was hunting wild, dangerous beasts instead of sick animals in cages. Woojin took another sip of coffee. His hands were shaking worse now. The real predators were a different story, he continued. We had orders to avoid them whenever possible. Command said they were too dangerous for standard operations. Too dangerous how? Woojin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. They learned, Dr. Park. Every time we sent a team after the real predators, fewer men came back. The survivors all said the same thing. The animals knew they were coming. They had been prepared, waiting. Sujin leaned forward. Prepared how? Traps, ambushes, coordinated attacks from multiple directions. These were not animal behaviors. They were military tactics. Woojin pulled out a small data pad and showed Sujin a file. It contained mission reports from hunting operations across Earth. Look at this, he said, pointing to a report from Alaska. Team of 8 hunters went after a pack of wolves. Only 2 came back. They said the wolves had split them up using false retreats and flanking maneuvers. Classic military strategy. He scrolled to another file. Tiger hunt in India. The big cat led the hunters into a canyon where rock slides had been prepared. 3 men died. The tiger was never found. Sujin read through report after report. The pattern was always the same. Experienced military hunters would face healthy predators and suffer heavy casualties. The animals seemed to know exactly what humans would do and how to counter it. How is this possible? Sujin asked. Woojin shrugged. Command had theories. Some said the predators were sharing information somehow. Others thought they were evolving faster than we realized. A few believed they were being trained by something else. Trained by what? No one knew. But the really scary part was how they dealt with different types of hunters. Woojin showed her another file. Sports hunters who came for trophies usually just disappeared. Clean kills, no evidence left behind. But military hunters who came as real threats faced elaborate scenarios. The animals would test their skills, learn their weaknesses, then eliminate them. Sujin studied the data. It sounds like they were conducting experiments. That is what scared Command the most, Woojin said. These predators were not just defending territory. They were studying human combat tactics, learning how we fight so they could fight us better. And Daeho? He stayed far away from the real predators. Always took the safe missions. But he told stories like he was facing the dangerous ones. Woojin's voice was filled with disgust. Men died fighting those creatures while he shot sick animals and bragged about it. Sujin sat back in her chair. Everything was starting to make sense. The missing hunters, the organized campsites, the patterns she had found in her research. The predators were protecting their sick and injured, she said slowly. They drew the real threats away while Daeho dealt with the helpless ones. Woojin nodded grimly. And now he is out there telling the galaxy that humans are the apex predators. That Earth's beasts are just simple animals we conquered. But we did not conquer them at all. No, Woojin said. We just think we did. And that makes us vulnerable. Sujin thanked Woojin for the information and left the tavern. As she walked back to her transport, her mind was racing. The implications were staggering. Earth's predators were not just intelligent. They were strategically minded. They could plan operations, coordinate attacks, and conduct intelligence gathering. They had been studying human military tactics for years. And humanity had no idea. Men like Daeho were spreading dangerous lies about human superiority. They were making people overconfident about creatures that were far more capable than anyone realized. Sujin needed to learn more. She needed to understand the full scope of what these predators were capable of. Because if they were really as intelligent as the evidence suggested, then humanity might have seriously underestimated what they were dealing with. The predators were not just hunting back. They were preparing for something bigger. 3 weeks after her meeting with Woojin, Sujin received disturbing news. Daeho had accepted a new hunting contract. This time he was going after something called shadow cats on Proxima Centauri. Sujin immediately began researching these creatures. What she found made her blood run cold. Shadow cats were not ordinary predators. They lived in the twilight forests of Proxima Centauri b, where the planet's tidally locked nature created permanent zones of dim light. The creatures were described as phantoms that could appear and disappear without warning. But the reports Sujin found suggested something far more disturbing than simple camouflage abilities. Day 15. Read one explorer's log. The shadow cats are watching us. We set up motion sensors around our camp, but they triggered in patterns that make no sense. It is like the cats are testing our equipment to see how it works. Another report was even more troubling. They keep showing themselves just long enough for us to see them, then vanishing. Yesterday, one sat in plain view for almost an hour while we tried to photograph it. When we finally got our camera ready, it looked directly into the lens and disappeared. I swear it was posing for us. Sujin found 7 previous human expeditions to Proxima Centauri b in the past 10 years. All had reported strange encounters with the shadow cats. None had successfully captured or killed one. More disturbing was what happened to the hunting parties that tried. 3 separate groups had gone to the planet, specifically to hunt shadow cats. All 3 expeditions had suffered casualties. The first group lost 2 men to what they described as impossible accidents. Experienced hunters falling into perfectly disguised traps. Equipment failing at exactly the wrong moments. Attacks that came from directions that should have been impossible. The second expedition reported that the shadow cats seemed to know their battle tactics before they used them. Every strategy the humans tried had already been countered before they implemented it. The third group never reported back at all. When rescue teams arrived, they found the hunters' equipment arranged in complex geometric patterns around their campsite. The men themselves were never found. Sujin realized she was looking at the same pattern she had seen in the Earth reports. The shadow cats were not just intelligent predators. They were researchers studying human behavior. She tried to contact Daiho to warn him, but he had already departed for Proxima Centauri b. All she could do was monitor his transmissions and hope he would listen to reason. Daiho's first messages from the planet were typically confident. "The shadow cats are just another Earth legend that got exaggerated," he reported. "Big house cats with good camouflage, nothing an experienced hunter cannot handle." But as days passed, his tone began to change. Day 3, his transmission said, "Still have not seen one of the cats clearly. They keep moving at the edge of my vision. Probably just being cautious. I will have one of them soon enough." Day 5, "Something is wrong with my equipment. My motion sensors keep going off, but there is nothing there when I check. Maybe the local wildlife is interfering with the electronics." Day 7, "I think there might be more than one cat following me. I keep seeing shadows moving in different directions, but every time I investigate, I find nothing. They are definitely more clever than I expected." Sujin monitored these transmissions with growing worry. She could hear the change in Daiho's voice. The confidence was fading, replaced by confusion and the first hints of fear. Day 9, "They are playing with me. I know it sounds crazy, but these cats are playing with me. Yesterday I set up 3 different ambush positions. Each time I saw a shadow cat exactly where my trap would not work. It is like they knew where I would be hiding." Day 11, "I found scratch marks around my camp this morning. Not random marks. They were arranged in patterns. Geometric shapes carved into the trees and rocks. No animal makes marks like that." Sujin pulled up her research on animal intelligence and pattern recognition. What Daiho was describing was beyond normal predator behavior. It suggested advanced cognitive abilities and possibly even symbolic thinking. Day 13, "They took my backup rifle. I know that sounds impossible, but it is gone. I had it secured in my pack with multiple locks. This morning the locks were open and the rifle was missing. But here is the strange part. They left everything else. Food, ammunition, even my sidearm. They only took the rifle." Sujin felt her stomach tighten. Taking specific equipment while leaving other items untouched suggested the cats understood the purpose and function of different tools. They knew which weapon posed the greatest threat. Day 15, "I think I am being herded. Every time I try to go in one direction, I find obstacles. Fallen trees, unstable ground, strange noises that make me turn back. But when I go the way they seem to want me to go, the path is clear." Sujin checked the planetary maps. If Daiho was being herded, where were they leading him? She traced his reported positions and found a disturbing pattern. He was being guided toward a canyon system in the planet's deepest twilight zone. Day 17, "I found the remains of previous expeditions. 3 different campsites, all in this canyon. The equipment is arranged the same way I keep seeing. Perfect geometric patterns. But the men are gone. All of them. Day 18, "I understand now. They were not hunting the other expeditions for food or territory. They were studying them, learning how humans think and fight. Every expedition taught them something new." Sujin could hear the fear in Daiho's voice now. The boastful hunter was beginning to realize what he was really facing. Day 19, "They know I'm different from the others. The previous hunters came here as real threats, military-trained, experienced with dangerous prey, but I am not like them. I think that is why I am still alive." Day 20, "I saw one clearly today. It sat on a rock ledge about 50 meters away and just watched me. Beautiful creature. Silver and black fur that seemed to shift and blur even in direct light. But its eyes were intelligent, ancient, like it was looking into my soul and finding me lacking." Day 21, "They are not going to kill me. I think they are disappointed in me. All this time they were hoping for a real challenge, a true predator to test themselves against. But I am not what they expected." Sujin realized what was happening. The shadow cats had been studying human hunters for years, learning from each encounter. They had been hoping Daiho would provide them with new information about human tactics and capabilities. Instead, they had discovered that he was not a real hunter at all. Day 22. "I tried to leave the canyon today, but they stopped me. Not with force. They just appeared in my path until I turned back. I think they are trying to decide what to do with me." Day 23. "I found writing on the canyon walls today. Not human writing. Symbols carved deep into the rock. Old symbols. I think other species have been here before us. I think the shadow cats have been studying different types of hunters for a very long time. Sujin was recording every transmission now. This was unprecedented evidence of non-human intelligence and possibly even civilization. Day 24. They showed me something today. A place where they keep trophies, I guess. Equipment from all the expeditions they have studied. But it is not just human equipment. There are weapons and tools from dozens of different species. They have been researching hunters from across the galaxy. Final transmission. Day 25. I understand now. The shadow cats are not just predators. They are scholars, scientists. They study other hunters to learn new techniques and strategies. Earth's predators probably learned from them somehow. Shared information across the stars. I was never the hunter here. I was always the specimen being studied. The transmission cut off after that. Sujin waited for hours, but no more messages came from Proxima Centauri b. Sujin stared at her communications console for 3 days, waiting for another message from Deho. None came. The silence from Proxima Centauri b was complete and terrifying. On the 4th day, she received an unexpected transmission. It was not from Deho. The signal came from the planet's surface, but the voice was different, younger, frightened. "This is Rescue Team Alpha," the voice said. "We found Commander Kim's campsite. You need to see this." The transmission included video footage that made Sujin's hands shake as she watched. Deho's equipment was arranged in the same geometric patterns she had seen in previous reports, but this time the patterns were more complex, more detailed. His weapons were laid out in perfect spirals. His camping gear formed intricate mathematical shapes. Even his personal belongings had been arranged with impossible precision, but Deho himself was nowhere to be found. "We have been searching for 48 hours, the rescue team leader continued. "No sign of Commander Kim, but we found something else. Something you need to understand." The video camera panned across the canyon walls. The rock faces were covered with symbols. Not just the old ones Deho had mentioned, but new ones. Fresh carvings that were still sharp and clean. "We brought a xenolinguist with us," the rescue leader said. "Dr. Minho Chen. He's been studying these symbols. What he found changes everything." The video switched to show a middle-aged man with thick glasses standing next to the canyon wall. Dr. Chen looked pale and shaken. "These symbols are not random," Dr. Chen said, pointing to the carvings. "They tell a story. A history of hunters who have come to this planet over thousands of years." He moved his hand along a series of symbols near the bottom of the wall. "These oldest ones show primitive hunters. Simple weapons, basic tactics. The shadow cats studied them and learned." His hand moved higher up the wall. "These show more advanced hunters. Better weapons, improved strategies. Each group that came here taught the cats something new." Dr. Chen pointed to the newest symbols at the top of the wall. "And these show human hunters. Multiple expeditions over the past decade. The cats have been documenting our techniques, our technology, our weaknesses." Sujin felt sick as she watched the video. The implications were staggering. "But here's the most disturbing part," Dr. Chen continued. "The newest symbols do not just show humans hunting on this planet. They show humans hunting on other worlds, including Earth." The camera zoomed in on a series of fresh carvings. They clearly depicted human figures with weapons facing off against creatures that looked like Earth's predators. Lions, tigers, bears, sharks. "The shadow cats have been in communication with Earth's predators," Dr. Chen said quietly. "They have been sharing information across interstellar distances somehow. Every human hunting technique used on Earth has been transmitted here and studied." Sujin paused the video and enhanced the image. The symbols were unmistakable. They showed a detailed analysis of human hunting methods, weapon capabilities, and tactical approaches. The video continued with Dr. Chen's analysis. "The cats have not just been learning from the hunters who came here. They have been teaching other predators across the galaxy, sharing knowledge about how to counter human tactics." The rescue team leader spoke again. "We found one more thing. A message. We think it was left for us deliberately." The camera focused on a section of wall near Deho's abandoned campsite. The symbols here were different, simpler, almost like basic pictographs that humans could understand. Dr. Chen translated slowly. "It says, 'The loud hunter was not worthy of study. The quiet hunter seeks truth. Send her.'" Sujin's blood ran cold. The quiet hunter. They were talking about her. The Shadowcats knew she had been researching them. They wanted to meet her. The video ended with the rescue team preparing to leave the planet. "We are returning to base," the leader said. "But those symbols, they suggest this is bigger than just one planet. This might be happening everywhere humans have encountered predators." Sujin spent the next week analyzing every piece of data she had collected. The pattern was clear once she knew what to look for. Earth's predators had been unusually successful against human hunters not because they were naturally superior, but because they had been receiving intelligence from other worlds. The missing hunters, the organized campsites, the strategic thinking she had documented. It all made sense now. Earth's predators were part of a galaxy-wide network, sharing information about human capabilities and weaknesses. She pulled up files from dozens of human colonies, reports of unusual predator behavior on worlds across known space, animals showing tactical knowledge they should not possess, creatures working together across species lines, predators who seemed to know human strategies before humans implemented them. It was all connected. The Shadowcats were not just researchers. They were teachers. They had been studying hunters from different species for millennia and sharing that knowledge with predators throughout the galaxy. Sujin realized that humanity's expansion into space had not just introduced them to alien predators, it had introduced alien predators to humanity, and those predators had been sharing everything they learned. The galaxy's most dangerous creatures had been conducting their own intelligence operation against human expansion. They had been preparing for humanity long before humans knew they existed. She thought about Daeho's final transmission. He had said he was not the hunter but the specimen being studied. He was more right than he knew. Every human who had ever faced a predator had been part of an ongoing research project, and the research was nearly complete. Sujin looked at the message the Shadowcats had left. They wanted to meet with her, the quiet hunter who sought truth. They had something to tell her. She was terrified of what that might be, but she also knew she had to find out. If humanity was going to survive in a galaxy full of intelligent predators who had been studying them for years, someone needed to understand what they were really facing. Sujin began making preparations to travel to Proxima Centauri. She was going to accept the Shadowcats' invitation. She was going to learn the truth about what humanity had walked into when they decided to explore the stars. Even if that truth destroyed everything humans believed about their place in the galaxy. Sujin stood at the edge of the canyon on Proxima Centauri B, looking down at the place where Daeho had made his last transmission. The twilight world was quiet except for the soft whisper of wind through the strange trees. She had come alone, against the advice of everyone who knew about her mission. The research station directors thought she was crazy. The military wanted to send an armed escort. But Sujin knew that would defeat the purpose. The Shadowcats had asked for the quiet hunter who sought truth. They would not reveal themselves to a military force. "I am here," she said aloud, her voice echoing off the canyon walls. "I came as you asked." For a long moment nothing happened. Then she saw movement in the shadows between the trees. A figure emerged slowly, padding silently across the rocky ground. The Shadowcat was beautiful. Its fur seemed to shift between silver and black, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. It was larger than she had expected, about the size of a leopard, but moved with fluid grace that seemed to defy gravity. But what struck Sujin most were its eyes. They were intelligent, ancient, patient. The cat sat down about 10 meters away and regarded her calmly. It showed no fear, no aggression, just curiosity. "You are the one who questions," a voice said. Sujin spun around, looking for the source of the sound. Then she realized the voice had come from inside her own head. The Shadowcat was communicating telepathically. "Yes," she said aloud, not sure if the creature could hear her thoughts in return. "I question everything." "Good," the voice said. "Questions lead to understanding. Understanding leads to survival." The Shadowcat stood and began walking deeper into the canyon. Sujin followed, her heart pounding with excitement and terror. They walked for an hour through increasingly strange terrain. The rocks here were carved with symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Some were clearly ancient, worn smooth by time. Others looked fresh, as if they had been made recently. Finally, they reached a cavern hidden behind a waterfall. The Shadowcat led her inside. The cavern was vast, its walls covered with symbols from floor to ceiling. But these were not just random carvings. They were organized like a library, a database of knowledge accumulated over thousands of years. This is the archive, and the voice in her head explained. We record everything we learn about the hunters who come to our worlds. Sujin walked along the walls, studying the symbols. She could see the progression of different species and their hunting techniques. Each section showed how the Shadowcats had analyzed and documented new strategies. You study us, she said. We study all predators, the voice replied. It is necessary for survival. Your species is young but dangerous. You spread quickly and hunt without wisdom. The Shadow Cat led her to a section of wall covered with newer symbols. These clearly depicted humans and their various weapons and tactics. You call yourselves apex predators, the voice continued. But you do not understand what that means. True apex predators do not boast. They do not hunt for sport. They hunt for knowledge. Sujin studied the human symbols more carefully. She could see depictions of hunting parties, military operations, even scientific expeditions. Everything humanity had done in space had been observed and recorded. How long have you been watching us? She asked. Since your first ships left your world. We knew you would come to the hunting grounds eventually. We prepared. The cat moved to another section of the wall. These symbols showed something that made Sujin gasp. They depicted predators from Earth communicating with creatures from other worlds. Earth's predators are part of your network, she said, understanding flooding through her. They had to be, the voice explained. Your species was too dangerous to leave unchecked. We taught them how to study you as we study all hunters. Sujin thought about all the missing hunters, all the strategic behaviors she had documented. You have been training Earth's predators to be more effective against humans. Not training, educating. There is a difference. We shared knowledge about how other species hunt and how they can be countered. Earth's predators adapted this knowledge to deal with your kind. The Shadow Cat led her deeper into the cavern. Here the wall showed something even more disturbing. Maps of human space with markers indicating predator populations on every world. You have predators everywhere humans have settled, Sujin realized. We ensure that every world humans colonize has guardians, creatures capable of studying your behavior and limiting your expansion if necessary. Sujin felt overwhelmed by the scope of what she was learning. Are you trying to stop human expansion? Not stop, control. Your species has great potential, but you lack wisdom. You hunt without understanding. You kill without learning. This makes you dangerous to the balance of all worlds. The cat stopped in front of a wall covered with the most recent symbols. These showed something that made Sujin's blood run cold. They depicted human settlements under attack by coordinated predator forces. You are planning something, she said. Not planning. Preparing. Your kind grows more reckless with each generation, more certain of your superiority, more willing to hunt without thought for consequences. The voice in her head became sadder. The loud hunter who came here recently was typical of your species. He believed he was superior to all other life forms. He hunted sick and injured creatures and claimed great victories. What happened to him? He was shown the truth. When he realized he was not the predator he believed himself to be, he chose to stay and learn. He is still here studying with us. Sujin was shocked. Deho is alive? He lives, but he is no longer the creature he was before. He understands now that true strength comes from knowledge, not violence. The Shadow Cat led her to the final section of the cavern. Here the walls showed possible futures. Some depicted humans and predators living in balance. Others showed devastating conflicts that would destroy both sides. Why are you showing me this? Sujin asked. Because you are the quiet hunter. You seek understanding rather than dominance. Your species needs teachers like you if it is to survive in the galaxy. The cat turned to face her directly. We offer knowledge. The accumulated wisdom of thousands of years studying predators and prey. But it comes with responsibility. What kind of responsibility? You must teach your kind humility. They must learn that they are not the apex predators they believe themselves to be. They are students in a much larger classroom. Sujin understood. The Shadow Cats were offering humanity a choice. Learn to coexist with the galaxy's predators or face the consequences of continued arrogance. And if humans refuse to learn, the images on the wall shifted, showing coordinated attacks across human space. Every world, every colony, every settlement faced by predators who knew exactly how to counter human strategies. Then the Guardians will fulfill their purpose, the voice said simply. Sujin spent 3 days in the cavern, learning everything the Shadow Cats were willing to teach. When she finally left, her mind was filled with knowledge that would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. She returned to her research station and began writing her report. It would be the most important document in human history, a warning about the true nature of predators and the galaxy they inhabited. Some humans would listen, others would dismiss her findings as impossible. But the choice would be theirs. Sujin looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere among them, ancient predators watched and waited. They had been patient for thousands of years. They could be patient a little longer, but not forever. The galaxy was a dangerous place for species that hunted without wisdom. Humanity was about to learn that lesson whether they wanted to or not. The age of human arrogance was ending. The time for true understanding was about to begin. 6 months after Sujin's return from Proxima Centauri b, the galaxy had begun to change. Her report, titled The Silent Network, a study of predator intelligence across known space, had caused chaos in human scientific and military circles. Some called her a traitor. Others claimed she had been driven insane by her experiences. But the evidence she presented was too detailed and too consistent to ignore completely. Sujin sat in her expanded laboratory, now located on the central research station orbiting Earth. Her team had grown from 1 person to 50, all working to understand the implications of her discoveries. Dr. Tae-hyun Park, a behavioral specialist and Sujin's younger brother, reviewed the latest reports from human colonies. "The pattern is holding," he said, looking up from his datapad. "Every world where we have implemented the new protocols is showing improved relations with local predators." Sujin nodded. The protocols were simple but revolutionary. Instead of hunting predators as threats to be eliminated, human colonies were learning to study them as intelligent beings to be understood. "What about the resistance movements?" Sujin asked. Taehyun's expression darkened. "Still active on 12 worlds. The military hardliners refuse to believe that predators could be more intelligent than humans. They are organizing hunting expeditions to prove your findings wrong." Sujin had expected this reaction. Changing thousands of years of human thinking would not happen overnight. But she worried about what the Shadow Cats might do if humans continued to hunt without wisdom. A chime from her communication system interrupted her thoughts. The message was marked with the highest security clearance. It was from Admiral Young-suk Kim, head of Colonial Defense. "Dr. Park," the message began, "we need to talk immediately. There have been developments on the frontier worlds that require your expertise." Sujin took a transport to the military command station in the Luna system. Admiral Kim was waiting for her in a secure briefing room, along with several other high-ranking officers. "Doctor," Admiral Kim said without preamble, "we have a situation on Kepler 442c. 3 hunting expeditions have disappeared in the past month. All were organized by groups that rejected your protocols." Sujin felt her stomach tighten. "What kind of expeditions?" "Military veterans mostly. Men who served with Commander Dae-ho Kim before his disappearance. They went to prove that humans are still the apex predators in the galaxy." Admiral Kim activated a holographic display showing the planet in question. Kepler 442c was a forested world with abundant wildlife, including several species of large predators. The first expedition was led by Colonel Dongmin Lee. Admiral Kim continued, "Experienced hunter, 15 years of military service. His team was found 3 days ago." The display showed images that made Sujin's hands shake. The hunting team's equipment was arranged in the now familiar geometric patterns, but these patterns were more complex than any she had seen before. "The predators are evolving their methods," Sujin said quietly. "It gets worse," Admiral Kim said. "We found messages carved into the trees around the campsite. Messages in human writing." Sujin stared at the Admiral. "Human writing?" "Basic English letters carved deep into the bark. The message said, 'The Loud Hunters return. The agreement is void. Prepare for the old ways.'" Sujin felt the blood drain from her face. The Shadow Cats had offered humanity a choice between cooperation and conflict. The hunting expeditions had apparently made that choice for everyone. "There is more," Admiral Kim continued. "Similar incidents are being reported on 7 other worlds. Hunting parties disappearing, messages left behind. But the messages are getting more direct." The display showed photographs from different planets. Each showed carved messages in human languages. Wisdom rejected, guardians activated. The quiet hunter spoke truth. The loud hunters chose war. Last warning given. Next hunters die. Sujin read each message with growing horror. They are giving us ultimatums. It appears so, Admiral Kim said. The question is, what do we do about it? General Seokjin Yoon, a grizzled veteran with scars across his face, leaned forward aggressively. We hunt them down. All of them. Show these animals who really rules this galaxy. That would be exactly the wrong response, Sujin said firmly. General, these predators have been studying human military tactics for decades. They know our strategies better than we do. Impossible, General Yoon snorted. They are just animals with good camouflage. Sujin activated her own data display. General, let me show you what happened to the last military force that tried to hunt shadow cats. The images showed the remains of a full battalion that had been sent to Proxima Centauri b 2 years before Sujin's visit. 300 trained soldiers had been outmaneuvered and eliminated by a handful of predators using tactics that human military academies were only beginning to understand. They used our own flanking maneuvers against us, Sujin explained. They set up crossfires using principles from our infantry manual. They coordinated attacks across multiple fronts using communication methods we still do not understand. General Yoon studied the tactical breakdown with growing concern. How is this possible? Because they have been learning from every human they encounter, Sujin said. Every hunting expedition teaches them something new about our capabilities and weaknesses. Admiral Kim looked thoughtful. What do you recommend, Doctor? Sujin took a deep breath. We implement the cooperation protocols galaxy-wide immediately. No more hunting expeditions. No more treating predators as simple animals. We approach them as the intelligent beings they are. And if they refuse to cooperate? General Yoon asked. Then we learn to live with the consequences of thousands of years of hunting without wisdom, Sujin said grimly. Over the next several months, Sujin worked with military and civilian leaders to develop new guidelines for human-predator interactions. The protocols were simple but revolutionary. First, all predators were to be treated as potentially intelligent beings until proven otherwise. Second, hunting for sport or trophies was banned on all human worlds. Third, any encounters with predators were to be documented and studied rather than met with violence. Fourth, humans were to learn from predators rather than trying to dominate them. The protocols were not popular with everyone. Many humans saw them as weakness. Some colonies refused to implement them at all. But on the worlds where the protocols were followed, something remarkable happened. Predator attacks on human settlements dropped to almost zero. Wildlife began returning to areas where it had been hunted to near extinction. The careful balance between humans and nature began to restore itself. Sujin received regular reports from these worlds. Farmers on New Jeju reported that local predators had begun helping to control pest populations that damaged crops. Researchers on Tau Ceti found that native hunters were teaching them about edible plants and dangerous terrain. Most remarkably, some predators began approaching human settlements peacefully. They would sit at the edge of towns and watch human activities with obvious curiosity. When humans responded with study rather than violence, the creatures would allow closer observation. Sujin documented each case carefully. The evidence was building that predators across the galaxy were capable of far more complex thought and emotion than humans had ever imagined. But not all the news was positive. The worlds that rejected the protocols continued to experience problems. Hunting expeditions disappeared with increasing frequency. Human settlements faced coordinated attacks from multiple predator species working together. The galaxy was dividing into two kinds of human worlds: those that learned to coexist with predators, and those that tried to maintain dominance through force. Sujin knew which kind would survive in the long term. 1 year after her return from Proxima Centauri b, Sujin received an unexpected visitor. She was working late in her laboratory when her security system announced an unscheduled arrival. The transport that docked at her station was unmarked and carried no official identification. But when the airlock opened, Sujin recognized the man who stepped through. It was Dae-ho Kim. He looked different, thinner, calmer, with eyes that held a depth of understanding that had not been there before. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. "Hello, Sujin," he said quietly. "I think it is time we talked." They sat in Sujin's office, drinking tea and looking out at the stars. Deho told her about his experiences with the shadow cats, how they had shown him the truth about his so-called hunting victories, how they had taught him to see predators as teachers rather than enemies. I was never a hunter, he said sadly. I was just a man with weapons pretending to be something I was not. The shadow cats helped me understand the difference. What will you do now? Sujin asked. Deho smiled. Teach. Help others learn what I learned. Show humans that true strength comes from understanding, not domination. Sujin nodded. The galaxy needs more teachers like you. Like us, Deho corrected. You started this, Sujin. You asked the right question at the right time. Did they ever hunt back? That question changed everything. Outside the window, stars glittered in the darkness. Somewhere among them, ancient predators watched and waited. But for the first time in thousands of years, they were watching potential partners rather than threats. The age of hunting without wisdom was ending. The age of learning and cooperation was beginning.